The movie starts with Peter entering the room. He finds a young woman named Miguel bound to the bed and completely possessed in a completely destroyed room. In reality, the devil has taken possession of her. Miguel suddenly starts laughing and growling loudly out of the blue. Peter then makes a call to Father Michael, who advises him not to take any action because he has not finished his preparation and could pass away. However, Peter ignores him and decides to perform the exorcism. Peter starts reading the prayers, and that's when Miguel's bed begins to levitate. As Peter continues to read, Satan starts to seduce him by removing Miguel's garment, a particularly dreadful manifestation of the devil. Peter then sprinkles holy water on her, but it appears she does not feel anything. He continues to pray, and Satan forces Miguel to masturbate before him, after which she falls onto the bed. Peter then goes to check on her, and she begins kissing him. Here, Peter loses control, and perhaps Satan possesses him. Now, it has been 18 years, and Father Peter lives in the countryside of Mexico. One day, a lady takes him to her home, where he sees that a child is extremely sick. He takes the child to the hospital, where Dr. Nelson informs him that they don't have medication and food. Later, Peter is at the church when Nelson comes to him and tells him that they have lost 4 children this week. Peter replies that it seems like a punishment from God. It is then revealed that Peter was possessed that day because he was weak. He even attempted to confess, but Father Thomas only gave him a penance. Now, Peter has concluded that he must admit his sin before the bishop to find peace. When he meets the bishop, he tells him that 18 years ago, he committed a sin he never dared to confess. He intends to give the bishop a tape that was recorded that day. However, the bishop provides him with a large sum of money to help the children in the orphanage, and seeing this, Peter changes his plan. Peter later prays and curses himself for his wrongdoing when he suddenly hears someone scream. He rushes to the church and sees that the idol of Jesus is missing. Hearing noises from behind, he notices blood on the ground. Peter then sees a man crying, standing at the edge of the church, shrouded in blood. As Peter approaches him, he realizes that the figure resembles a satanic version of Jesus, terrifying him to the point that he tumbles down. He puts his cross pendant around his neck and notices a door moving. Grabbing a stand, Peter cautiously approaches, but there is no one there. Suddenly, Satan assaults him, and when he wakes up, he gets a call from a prison. He is informed that something abnormal is happening with a detainee who specifically wants to meet him. Peter visits the young woman in the cell, named Esperanza. She looks at him and tells him that Easter will bring a supernatural occurrence. When Peter asks her who she is, Satan responds that they already know each other. It is then revealed that this is the same Satan Peter confronted 18 years ago. Peter then admits that long ago, he performed his first exorcism and swore it would be his last. However, Miguel appears, and it is revealed that Esperanza is actually Peter's daughter. Later, Peter wakes up from a deep sleep but finds himself unable to move. He sees the door of his room open by itself. Suddenly, Satan is sitting on his bed. Peter begins reciting prayers and finally breaks free from the paralysis. However, out of nowhere, Satan grabs him from behind. Peter sees Satan sitting on him before abruptly waking up with a jolt. Meanwhile, another child has died, and Nelson insists that they had no infections. Peter then confronts the bishop, angrily demanding answers about Esperanza. The priest finally allows Peter to perform the exorcism. Peter insists that someone accompany him this time, and so he calls Father Michael. Peter and Father Michael are delighted to reunite. Peter then confesses the truth, revealing that the demon named Balban left Miguel but entered him instead before eventually departing. Peter then burns the tape, and it is revealed that Satan had raped Miguel by possessing Peter. When Satan left him, everyone assumed Peter had successfully expelled the demon, unaware of what truly happened. Later, Peter tells Father Michael that he has visions of Jesus being possessed by Satan in his dreams. Hearing this, Father Michael warns him that Balban wants to possess him. Thousands of years ago, Balban tried to possess Christ, but was defeated. Now, if he is trying again, there must be a reason, and Peter is a part of his plan. Meanwhile, a nun prays when she suddenly feels blood dripping on her head. She looks up to find that the idol of Mother Mary is missing. Hearing strange noises, she notices blood splattered on the ground. A short distance away, she sees a cloth lying on the floor. When she lifts it, there is a child beneath it, terrifying her. Suddenly, an idol transforms into a demon and walks toward her. When she looks back, there is nothing there. As she turns to leave, Satan drags her away. Later that night, children are asleep when one of them hears someone singing. He gets up and locks the door, but soon after, someone loudly knocks and says, "Now it is time to play." The children are terrified when suddenly, the door is broken down and the possessed nun stands there, causing them to scream. Hearing their cries, Peter and Father Michael rush to them. The nun is completely possessed and is about to attack the children. Miguel intervenes but is overpowered. Peter and Father Michael arrive and perform an exorcism on her, finally expelling Satan. Peter and Father Michael then head toward Esperanza, where Satan taunts Peter, saying he will bury his children. Father Michael challenges Satan to prove himself and Satan vomits on him. He then paralyzes Michael, causing him to collapse. Peter and Michael begin praying, which torments Satan. However, after some time, Satan suddenly lunges at Michael and attacks him. Peter attempts to subdue her but is struck down. Nelson injects her with a sedative, making her unconscious. Peter then tells the prison guard that they need to evacuate the jail, as it is extremely dangerous. The guard refuses, but Nelson offers to sedate all the detainees. That night, as Peter and Michael prepare for the exorcism, the prison lights suddenly go out. Nelson discovers that the cell doors are open. As they approach Esperanza's cell, they find strange writing on the walls. Suddenly, the cell door slams shut. Nelson sees the dead body of a guard and becomes terrified. A possessed girl appears before him, and another attacks him from behind. The exorcism intensifies, with the priests reading prayers, causing the possessed girls to suffer. However, Satan arrives and burns the priest's cross. Esperanza walks toward them, unaffected by the prayers. Peter and Father Michael try to flee, but Satan stops Michael, and a girl attacks him. They retreat to the kitchen, where Michael demands Peter confess his sin. Peter reveals that Esperanza is his daughter. Michael tells him that he will never be able to defeat Balban nor save his daughter. Peter pleads for help, but Michael confesses that he once made a deal with Balban to save a child and lost his powers. Before dying, he warns Peter never to make a deal with Satan. Now, Peter records a video admitting that 18 years ago, Balban possessed him, raped Miguel, and fathered Esperanza. He sends the video to the bishop. Peter comes out again, and the girls chase after him. However, he weakens them by reciting prayers. Then, he sees Satan appearing as Jesus, carrying a cross on his shoulder. Peter rushes toward him to confront him, but he overpowers Satan with the force of his prayers. Suddenly, a young woman attacks Peter from behind, knocking him unconscious. When Peter wakes up, he finds himself tied to a chair. Satan then carves an upside-down cross on Peter's forehead and starts reciting prayers in reverse, causing him immense pain. As Satan continues, he begins expelling God from Peter's body, making Peter scream in agony. Meanwhile, all the children in the orphanage begin to choke. Hearing the distress, a nun tries to open the door, but she hears Satan's growl. Suddenly, she sees Satan walking toward her and attacking her. At this moment, Peter gathers his courage and starts reciting God's prayers, which begins to weaken Satan. In response, Satan starts strangling Peter, but Peter continues praying, causing Satan's body to burn. Peter then commands Satan to leave his daughter's body. Satan, however, tries to bargain with Peter. He offers to leave the girl's body, but in return, he will take all the orphanage children to hell. Peter refuses the deal, but then Satan gives him another option. If Peter allows God to expel him from his own body, all the children and his daughter will be saved. Peter ultimately agrees to the deal, after which Esperanza faints. Meanwhile, the nun successfully expels the demon from the orphanage, and all the children miraculously return to normal, sitting safely on their beds. The next morning, Peter brings Esperanza outside, and she is completely fine. The media begins covering the event, and people start viewing Peter as a saint. Shortly after, a bishop approaches Peter and informs him that he has deleted the footage of the event. He also tells Peter that there is a special assignment for him in the Vatican. Suddenly, Esperanza approaches Peter and asks for his blessing. She and the nun express their heartfelt gratitude before leaving. However, it is revealed that Peter is actually Balban and the bishop is also under his control. Sensing something unusual, Peter realizes that Esperanza is now an angel. In the final scene, we see Peter at the Vatican, declaring that the evil ones will not inherit the kingdom of God. Instead, they will face divine judgment. Exorcism of God explores themes of corruption, sacrifice, and the struggle between good and evil. The movie's message is that people must confront their sins before they can defeat evil. The movie shows how the church can be corrupted. The movie shows how negative forces can negatively impact people's lives if not acknowledged, and this applies to all life's problems, mental health, dark secrets in our lives we wish to take it to the grave. Thank you for watching and take care of yourself.